And good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Morning Blitz Sports Talk, Episode 7. Before we start, I want a moment of silence for the godfather of heavy metal in the memory of Ozzy Osbourne, who's recently passed away. Such hits as Bark of the Moon, Crazy Train, Mr. Crowley, and the list goes on in the accolades of his legendary career, from biting a bat's head during an executive conference meeting of a dub and then a backhand on the stage and going for a rabies shot. He'll be greatly missed in the music and the entertainment world. So let's go right back into some sports. All right, then. So with that being said, this is the Morning Blitz Sports Talk Radio on the Hardcore Sports Network. Let's do a quick no huddle of updates of news, then we'll center on a topic and we'll cover it as we go. The United Football League, the UFL. Major relocations incoming for the league's 8 teams in Birmingham, Michigan, Houston, and Memphis are set to move in 2025 as part of a league-wide restructuring. Rumored destinations include Columbus, Ohio, Boise, Idaho, Florida, and Kentucky. Player spotlight. Over 15 UFL players have secure NFL contracts this week. Notably, Arlington Renegades nose tackle Kyon Barr signed with the Arizona Cardinals. For Major League Baseball, Rich Hill makes history. At age 45, Rich Hill became the oldest active Major League Baseball player to start a game, Royals versus the Cubs. Dodgers bullpen struggles. Los Angeles continues to show significant issues in the relief corps, as reported by ESPN. Power Shift. NBC Sports placed Brewers at the top of its power rankings this week, with the Dodgers lagging behind. Let's go to the NFL news. The Honey Badger has officially hung up his cleats after 12-season career. Micah Parsons in contract talks. The Cowboys standout defender is expected to pursue the highest salary ever for a non-quarterback currently held by J.J. Watt. Meteorite stir as ESPN and the NFL are reportedly in renewed discussions over rights to NFL Network content. Let's go right into the NHL as veteran goaltenders are in demand. NHL teams are actively pursuing free agent goaltenders as the offseason progresses. Eric Collison trade buzz. The veteran defensive man is generating interest ahead of the season. The Dallas Stars, the team, has been featured in NHL Summer Splash rankings, highlighting their off-season activity. The NBA, the Summer League standouts, experienced players, not just rookies, are turning heads this summer. In a rebuild, the NFL evaluates 14 teams still in rebuild mode, including the Spurs, Mavericks, Suns, and others. Marcus Smart joins the Lakers after being recruited by Luka Doncic. Smart says the Lakers now have a no ceiling. Premier Lacrosse League. Zach Courier shines. The two-way star has been earning acclaim as a Swiss Army knife. Schedule update. The PLL released its weekend schedule. Denver is set to host games on Saturday, August 2nd. So let's go right into the UFL. Major market shakeup for the 2026 season. The UFL is reportedly relocating 4 franchises: the Michigan Panthers, Birmingham Stallions, the Houston Roughnecks, and the Memphis Showboats to new cities like Orlando, Florida, Boise, Idaho, Boise, Idaho, Columbus, Ohio, and Louisville or Lexington, Kentucky. The league initially denied these rumors, stating relocations are speculative at this stage. All right. There's labor talks in the UFL. Players ratify a new collective bargaining agreement in April of 2025, raised the minimum pay to $6,200 per game, increasing to $6,400 in 2026, and extended health coverage from 4 to 7 months. They're going to be doing a showcase of events announced. The league revealed dates for Fall Player Showcase, offering talent a chance to impress UFL staff and coaches. All right. So let's touch something right here. So they're talking about relocating 4 franchises. What I have gathered so far, morning, Mitch. What I gather so far, fans are not happy about Birmingham and Michigan getting relocated. A lot of people are not too shocked about Houston and Memphis. Memphis had the lowest attendance, and Houston has continued to pummel ever since the merger between the USFL and the XFL. What I'm seeing is the UFL is slowly getting rid of the identity that was the USFL. Yes, they trademarked a bunch of names like the Oakland Invaders, the Philadelphia Stars, like a bunch of old USFL. They also trademarked, check this out, they also trademarked Canton Bulldogs / Ohio Bulldogs. So if Columbus, Ohio, so this is my problem here. Why force teams? Does The Rock still show up at UFL games? I thought it was good when he did it to give exposures. He shows up if his schedule actually approves it. Remember, currently right now he is the CEO of WWE over with the TKO ownership group, so he's kind of busy. I know his ex-wife business partner Garcia, so they're and the gentleman from Red Cardinal Investments are essentially running the day-to-day operations while The Rock does his other duties and film requirements. However, I do expect The Rock, Dwayne Johnson, to essentially be preparing on the UFL for 2026, because with all the relocating teams, confirmed leading candidates for expansion. That's another thing. They are talking to expand the league by 12 teams by 2027. So, like I said, they did confirm that they trademarked Canton / Ohio Bulldogs. Columbus, Ohio. They have been talking once again about New Orleans, Oakland. This is fun. This is a fun thing. The Oakland Invaders filing, backed by Tom Brady as a minority owner, exploring UFL ownership in the area. That is a big thing. Doesn't mean that's going to happen. I don't know. We do know that they are planning to expand by 2 teams, should be expanded by 2 teams for 2026. But I don't know if they can do that with the concept of relocating 4 franchises. What they should have done was fold up shop of Memphis and Houston, move the Michigan Panthers to a smaller stadium, and maybe relocate Birmingham to a smaller stadium. The problem is the stadiums they are playing in. Columbus doesn't have a. I'm assuming they're not going to do the Buckeye Stadium for Columbus. I think they're going to do the Columbus Crews soccer stadium. And if they did that, that's smart. You don't want to do, or if they do, like let's say Columbus is one of the teams, and then they add Canton, then you use the Tom Benson Field at the Pro Football Hall of Fame Stadium for that Bulldog / Canton, Ohio, whatever expansion team. Because what they're doing is they're filing trademarks for old USFL teams and XFL teams. So they filed for Seattle Sea Dragons again. So they filed for multiple names. So for the New York, New Jersey, the New Jersey Generals, the New York Generals at Rutgers or another venue. They already trademark activity included Philadelphia Stars, is firmly in discussion, and then the Orlando New Orleans, which both had former USFL and XFL teams. But right now, the ones that are on the docket that have been officially filed are the Philadelphia Stars, Oakland Invaders, Canton Bulldogs / Ohio Bulldogs. All have been trademarked already. So here it is. On Canton, almost 100% chance that one of the two new teams would be in Canton. And where they're relocating one team in Columbus, they're assuming it's going to be, if they want a team in Ohio, they should put one of them in Columbus. The fans want a Canton versus Columbus, Ohio feud, like a similar to the Cincinnati Cleveland thing. And then you have the New Jersey, Philly, and then you have Ohio, and then the fans really want a Chicago. And remember, these are all Reddits. These are Reddit comments I'm reading. All right, I'm not on Reddit, to be fair, really not. But right now, the pick that they're really looming towards is Canton getting the first expansion. Relocating the 4 teams. Now remember, they haven't officially decided what teams are going to be added. But relocating 4 of the pillar teams in the league is kind of puzzling, especially Michigan. Michigan went to the championship, and then you're just going to relocate them. And then you have Brigham Stallions, who won 3 straight, 2 in the USFL, 1 in the UFL. Doesn't add up to me. I'm assuming they're worried about the fan attendance. But then again, that goes to the UFL. It's all about marketing, and they're doing a horrible job marketing these teams. And you can't punish the fans because the league doesn't do their effing job correctly. If anything, I would, after this announcement of the relocation, what you do is you fold Houston and Memphis. Those are the only 2 you relocate. You relocate the Michigan Panthers to a smaller stadium, and same goes with the Brigham Stallions. You give them 1 more season before you relocate them. All right. Since the return of the USFL, the league has been around. Let's see. All right. I'm trying to. Before the merger, let's see here. Trying to remember here. All right. So they merged in 2023. All right. So. All right. So essentially, this is what happened. The merger was announced in 2023, right? And then they did the divisions and whatnot. So the spring of 20. I'm trying to remember when the USFL came back, because I can't initially remember the year they came back. 2021. That's what it was. Okay. Yeah, because they used to be the spring league, and then they began. So the inaugural season was 2022. So they were together for a launch 2021, 22, 23. Three full seasons before they merged. So since 2024, that's when they became, the UFL. They're going to the second season as the UFL. The 3 seasons, it's the USFL. Okay. So with that being said, what do we get out of this relocation of these teams? I want people to comment, because I think this is a very intriguing thing. Because when I found out they were relocating the Brigham Stallions and the Michigan Panthers, those 2 team names, I was surprised. Oh, and the Arlington Renegades are going to be rebranding themselves the Texas Renegades. They're dropping the Arlington name after so many seasons with that name, which leads to be where's the San Antonio Bronlins going to be? Are they going to still play in San Antonio? Is the UFL going to relocate them to the four tenants? The only team that's killing it in attendance in the UFL has been DC Defenders and the St. Louis Battlehawks. I'm pretty sure of it. And by the way, congrats to the DC Defenders for winning the championship. All right. Here we go. So St. Louis Battlehawks dominated attendance. This is 2024. Average per game, 34,365 per game, more than 2.5 times the league average, and alone counted for over a third of the all attendance. League leader attendance record week 2 saw 40,317 fans at St. Louis versus Arlington, the highest in modern spring football history. Other peak St. Louis home crowds included 34,379 week 10, 32,969. They've always been up in the third, and the title game that was held in 2024 in St. Louis was 27,396 fans at the Dome at American Center. For this season, mid-season average was 12,827 fans per game, slightly up 0.6 from the standpoint in 2024. Total through 20 regular season games, 256,540 attendant, projected near last year's total of 581K over the full season. St. Louis remains top draw. Week 5 home game drove 30,406. Other St. Louis peaks include 32,111, 30,114, and 30,014 fans. The championship game alone held 14,559 fans between Michigan Panthers and the DC Defenders of St. Louis, a drop compared to the 2024 final. So, let's just be honest here. When the St. Louis Battlehawks played in the championship, played week 2, their record was 40,317. The Battlehawks is what they're trying to recreate in the league. They want that. They want 30,000 people showing up majority of the home games. They want a large, and let's be fair, they're playing at an NFL grade stadium, and they're pulling in massive numbers. Okay? So let's check out the attendance. Attendance for the Stallions and the Michigan Panthers. And I'll tell you my personal opinion and what was the tipping point for them to be like, okay, let's relocate them with Houston and Memphis. All right. Conference and regular season play. All right. So, Protective Stadium. So this is the Stallions. Highest home attendance was 14,056, week 7 for St. Louis. Lowest home attendance was 7,132, week 10 versus Michigan. And average home attendance was 9,764 fans per game. That's bad. All right. Notable games with attendance. March 30 versus Arlington, 14,153. That's a away game, by the way. Versus Memphis is 12,265. St. Louis was 14,056. Houston, 10,245. And then Michigan, 7,133. And then the conference game against Michigan was 10,000 287. Was that just Birmingham or was that Michigan? Okay. This is all Birmingham. So all this tells me is they were not impressed by Bingham's lackluster, um, attendance. Now let's go to the Michigan Panthers. That was Birmingham, Michigan. Highest home attendance was 9,444. Lowest was 6,952. Average home attendance approximately was 7,957 fans per game. This is not good. And remind you, this is 2000, and that was 2024. Now let's go to 2025. Week 1, 4,373, very low, but first open date. Week 2 was 10,049. Week 3 was 11,013. Week 4 was 9,674, still above the 2024 peak. Remember, this is 2025. Home game against DC was 11,653. Home game against Houston was 16,400, team high in 2025. The conference championship game, which was away, was 10,908, and then the championship game against DC was 14,000. All right. So, home lows. Key takeaway, hits a modest average. Yeah, and modest average. So by looking at this attendance chart here, explains why they are relocating Michigan and Birmingham. They cannot get the numbers up. And the downfall is the Michigan Panthers were set up to fail, period, by playing at Ford Field. What they should have done was played at a much smaller stadium, or at least a professional soccer stadium for Michigan Panthers. I guarantee you these numbers would have been increased. Tickets would have been more affordable, and I think they would have packed out the crowd. Birmingham, on the other hand, I don't know if they would have been able to salvage their attendance. Their attendance was always kind of piss poor, even for the fact that they've won 3 back-to-back championships. It's still now, for the sake of this argument, Houston Roughnecks attendance. And I'm doing this because, to me, it opens your eyes to how this affects why they should be there and why they should be relocated. Just so you know, this is the Morning Blitz Sports Star. We are on the Hardcore Sports Network, Monday through Friday, 9:30 a.m. ish. Sometimes we may be on a little bit later or a little bit earlier, depending on how everything goes. So here we go. The Roughnecks playing in 2024 at the Rice Stadium. Average home attendance was 7,056 fans, a 40% drop from their XFL average the year prior, which was 11,764. Their home games. Week 1, 9,157. Week 4 was 7,179, and it just, they keep going down. Now, excluding away games, their high was 9,157, low was 6,134. This, remind you, is 2024. 2025. Home opener was 7,321, roughly matching the 2024 average, despite the upgraded stadium, which they are playing at the Space City Financial Stadium, which I think is another stadium they used at one point that was not Rice. All right, so their low mid-season was 4,007. Estimate mid-season average was between 60,000 and 7,000 per home game, based on consistent sub 7K figures online and commentary. Not good. They dramatically dipped. Switch to Rice Stadium 24 was necessary for revelation at their primary venue. And then when they went back to the other thing, it just And then you have fans. Reddit. It looks like middle school games have better attendance, and the club barely surpassed last year's average despite a stadium upgrade. Houston, 80,000, 10,000. I just don't see Houston pulling big numbers. In reality, fell short with most games under 7K. This is why they're relocating the Houston Roughnecks. They just cannot sustain a really good fan attendance. It sucks because I thought Houston Roughnecks was a good team, good name, good logo, and then it just fell to the wayside. The year that the XFL came back and then they closed down because of COVID, the Houston Roughnecks was the uncrowned XFL champions of that season. They were really good. I liked what I saw from them, and it was very, very unfortunate that we do not get these guys back. Now they deserve to get, relocated for the most part. The Memphis Showboats. Listen, let's be fair. We already know why they're getting relocated. I'm just doing this to educate myself on how bad their attendance was. I heard it was bad. So I'm gonna go what 2024. 6,900 fans per home game, the lowest in the UFL that season. All right, highest they got was 8,791. Lowest was 5,609. Average was 3,000. This is for 2025. 3,846 fans per home game. League worst and down 40%. Highest was 4,753 and lowest was 2,044. That is horrible. It got to the point where they were handing out free tickets. Memphis needed to go anyway. It sucks because they've always tried to put a professional football team in Memphis, and it just never really worked out. I remember at one point in the 90s, they had a bid for an NFL expansion called the Memphis Hounds, which never went anywhere. I'm surprised that the UFL hasn't utilized that name. That would have been kind of cool. But it doesn't matter now. So with that being said, you got a Columbus. So let's play the what if game. Where does the Columbus, Ohio franchise would play football? What would be ideal? Should play and maximize on fan interactions, right? Because I'm looking at it like this. Where do they go? Right now, it has no NFL team there, right? It's only Cincinnati and Cleveland that has an NFL team. And if they put a team in Columbus, Ohio, they're talking about, where they should play it. So I'm going back to what I said before. I think playing at the lower.com field, the home of the Columbus Crew, which is capacity of 20,000. It's a modern facility. Central location, ideal for a UFL-sized crowd. At 20,000, this is where they want to go. This is where they want to put a UFL franchise, is at the Columbus Crew Stadium, not Ohio Stadium. It is 102,000 plus capacity. You are going to epically fail if you do that. It would be horrible decision to put a Columbus team in the Ohio Stadium at Ohio State. Don't do it. Don't put them in the Horseshoe. Put them at the Columbus Crew Stadium. By far. Now, the Boise, Idaho franchise is first of all, let's just say what it is. What? Why Boise Ho? And why Idaho? It's a very interesting. I'm surprised they didn't do Portland, Oregon. but it is a a diehard um, you know a diehard college football fan. Problem is, the only possible field they could play at is at Boise State, which is 36,000, which is not bad. It's a much smaller and feasible. Um, or they can do the Boise Hawk Memorial Stadium. The capacity is too small and it's just not suited for football. So I would go with the Alverson's Stadium in Boise State. Now, question is, what would they name the team? We can play that game later on and do the let's name the team type thing. Now, Florida. Florida is wild range. Now they're saying it would be Orlando again, and that's fine and all. But does anyone remember the Orlando Tampa Vipers, the Orlando Guardians, all of which failed? I did like when they had the Florida Tuskers in the old the original UFL. If anything, I would bring back that name, Florida Tuskers. My personal opinion. No NFL, once again, there's no NFL franchise in Orlando. Now, the problem is they said the Citrus Bowl, it's 60,000. It's too many. I would see. Where would you put them though? And hypothetically, you would have to push the living crap out of that, marketing wise. But I would put them in a soccer field in Orlando if there is one. I think there is one. I think it's so. There you go. Here it is. So the Inturing Coast Stadium, which sits about 25,500 seats, would be ideal. And it is a football-ready facility. I think it would be perfect for the UFL team. So when you go and you put a team like Orlando, I think the soccer field is perfect. So like for a Columbus, you would put them at the lower.com field. I think that's where you would put them. And then Orlando would be where the Orlando Pride plays. I think that would be a much suitable stadium. And now Kentucky. Yeah, so going back to Orlando real quick. This stadium, the soccer program, the Orlando Pride, is downtown Orlando. Central, easy accessible for fans, tourists alike. It's approximately 25,500 seats, ideal size for UFL game. This is shit I'm talking about. You need this UFL. This is what you need. You need to put them, and this is my personal opinion. This is where you need to put a team. You need to put all your UFL teams to maybe no more than 40,000. 40,000 should be your capacity until you manage to really grow and learn how to market your teams right, which they are doing a horrible job. They cannot market teams correctly in the UFL. The Rock did well with the XFL. However, reports came out that they were losing a lot of money on their own. So once again, pro spring sport leagues are very hard to push. Um, I mean, it's horrible to say, but that's the truth. Um, Once again, there's not a lot of talk about sports wise. Now, where would the Kentucky UFO franchise should play, right? Like, where are the viable football fields in Kentucky? Well, there's quite a few, but it's a strong football culture state. You have Western Kentucky, East Kentucky, um, and so the only suitable one that I see in Kentucky is Bowling Green. Capacity 20,000. The home of the Western Kentucky University football. Smaller but more intimate setting could be ideal for a UFL size. That's what they need to do. They need to stay small and then expand once they reach a certain amount. And I think that's how the UFL survives in the spring professional league aspect of things. Let's talk about something here about professional sports. People complain that they make a lot more money than the average human being. Economy sucks, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to say how I feel about it, and it's not out of, malice or whatnot, but I think a lot of people fail to remember once upon a time that pro athletes used to have to have a job during the off season, and then they would return and play again. Now people are like, well, today in the world, people want the athletes to focus on keeping their body, and I think, and this is my hot topic, right? I think that it needs to go back to that. I think professional athletes should have a job during the off season, or the money they make should be enough that they don't have to work out 24/7 and have at least a decent, reasonable life. However, that's not the reality of things, right? Professional sports, professional athletes, they do a lot of things to try to keep their bodies up, maintenance, and all that stuff. And yeah, that's just how I feel about it. I'm sorry, once again, you would think there'll be a lot more sports news, but I'm really intrigued on why the UFL is doing this. Now, I don't remember what the capacity is at the football stadium in Canton, Ohio. I can't remember, so I'm gonna look at this. I don't, I, 17,000. Okay, yeah. See, that's perfect. Or they can play at Kent State, which is 25,000 capacity. Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. So, if anything, they should play at the Tom Benson Hall of Fame Stadium. It's perfect. Comes with history. 17,000. That's not big. That's perfect. Once again, you stick these teams in at least maybe 40,000 capacity max stadium, and I bet you they're going to sell out a lot more than what people think. So that's my personal take. But once again, we'll be back tomorrow morning at 9:30, and then we're going to sit down and we're going to do. I'm going to go jot up all the sports news, and then we're going to do a rapid fire wrap around about things, and let's see where things go. Thank you very much. You guys have a good time. Have a good morning, good day. This is the Morning Blitz Sport Talk. This is AJ. We'll be back tomorrow morning.